God dang it.
Such UCAV, much wow.
Okay, he's dead.
Such dope.
One more. Good, he's inside.
I just
He's
ran
reviving
myself.
the person. Good
I
job.
ran myself over with the ATV.
Oh,
Guy moving into Delta.
That's so lame. What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you yet another Battlefield 4 gameplay, continuing my post-patch look at some of the weapons that were more affected by the patch than some of the others. And this time looking at a assault rifle. This is the AR160, and look at this shot. That guy right there was on screen for about 1/10 of a second, and that guy right there, he was on screen for 4 to 5 frames. And this is recorded at 30 frames per second, so that's really quick. The reaction time that I had there was pretty crazy. I had only been in that building that one time. I had no clue what that building was. That's why I didn't expect to see anybody, and I ended up finding 4 of those guys in there. My reaction time, my adrenaline, something was going on. Or maybe it was just the gun. Maybe it was just the AR160. Maybe it is just that accurate. Well, okay, it is that accurate, but no, I was just on a roll during that segment. Could I have done that with a different gun? That is debatable. If it was a faster rate of fire, my accuracy might have been a little off, and in those kinds of time frames, yes, you're spewing a lot of bullets down range really quick, but with that amount of speed, you know, could you? Yeah, there's a lot of good players out there. But my point being, the AR160 is an accurate beast. I had a mixed time using this weapon. I started out in a lot of close range stuff using the AR160, and that's not where it's meant. This gun is kinda to be a mid to long range kind of gun. It's not going to take on DMRs and sniper rifles, but it's something that you could face those guys and win every now and then, but still it's a full auto rifle that you can use in close quarters. And I started out using it in a little too much close quarters, and that was probably my problem. I was having a lot of issues using the weapon in close quarters because I hadn't gotten the reins of it yet. I hadn't really gotten a good solid control. But after I started using it on some of the more medium to long range engagements, you know, things like this, shooting at a chopper, I actually get 2 hit markers on the pilot. Granted, he is hovering there, but still that is not an easy window shot to hit that guy on. And I started to get the hang of this gun, and that really helped me to get more in tune with its close quarter potential. The hip fire on it isn't that bad, probably because of the low rate of fire. You're not getting a lot of bloom per shot if you're hip firing it. It is not a bullpup weapon, so its hip fire is not the best, but because of that low rate of fire, you can hip fire alright, and you can pull off those kinds of shots like that where you're hitting in the window. But taking on 2 people, giving your position away, you're not gonna win those 2-on-1 close quarters kind of fights. It's just not gonna happen. But at medium range, this thing is just incredibly accurate thanks to the patch. It received a pretty significant reduction to its vertical recoil. Basically, if you look at this gun's recoil, it actually has what's called balanced recoil. Now, there's 2 different kinds of weapon recoils out there. You have biased recoil or a balanced recoil. And these are just terms that I've used. I don't know if other people, Rival X Factor, Level Cap, I don't know if that's what they use, but they know of these kind of recoils. And that's just my terminology. But a balanced recoil weapon is one that has equal left and right pull, so it's balanced. This one has a .23 left and right recoil. Interesting enough, it is the only weapon in which it also has the same vertical recoil because of the patch. It has a recoil vertically up of 0.23. So it has .23 recoil left, right, and up. That is pretty interesting, and it's the only weapon that I know of that does that. There is a weapon that comes very close, and that's the SAR-21, and it's also a long-range beast. Now, I mostly prefer weapons that have a biased recoil, whether it be left or right. Preferably a recoil that goes to the right. There are some weird weapons out there that recoil more to the left, but I gotta say, it depends. It depends on what kind of mood you're in. But you gotta know going into it whether your weapon is a left or a right biased weapon. And the reason I like biased is it can be odd for some people, but I like it because it's more predictable. If it pulls left and right the same amount, then it's harder to compensate for that. It's a lot easier to. This is one of those things that can be tricky to explain. It's easier to just stay on target, I guess, because it's not pulling you any specific direction. You can just, all you have to do is pull down, but you're not going to be as accurate at those long ranges. Because with a biased one, you know it's going to pull you up because of the vertical recoil. It is a gun. But you know that it pulls a little more to the right than it does to the left, so you can pull down and to the left if it has a right biased recoil. It's kind of tricky. So this, I don't want to touch on it too much. I already wasted more time on it than I expected to, but basically, this comes down to your preference. If you're somebody that likes a biased recoil more than a balanced recoil, then this AR160 is probably not going to be for you. But try it out, because having that equal up and left and right recoil, it actually ends up being weird, unlike some of the other balanced recoil weapons. And you just have a sense of consistency. It just feels smooth because everything is pulling 0.23. Now, compared to some of the other weapons that I've been doing so far, the assault rifles, looking at the AUG A3, looking at the CZ805, I didn't put a video on it because it didn't really receive any changes, but still, the M416, everybody likes to use that. It's a very familiar gun. In looking at those three, compared to the AR160, the AR160 doesn't have the lowest recoil out of those. It has quite a low recoil compared to them. There are certain ones that have, lower recoil in a specific category, but overall, the AR160 is generally low. It has the lowest first shot recoil out of all of those. And another weapon that I'm going to be looking at one point, the SAR-21, it has a lower first shot recoil even than that. It has a 1.6 multiplier versus a 2.2 on the 416, a 2.1 on the AUG A3, and a 2.1 on the CZ805. So it's quite a bit. 1.6 versus something in the 2.2 and 2.1 range. That's a 0.6 and a 0.5 increase. That's relatively significant. So that is probably the big selling point for this gun, is that it's got that balanced recoil, low recoil, very accurate, and it has very low first shot recoil, making it great for bursting, because every time you burst, there's another first shot in that beginning part of that burst. Is this going to be the best long-range weapon? I'd say it might be second best. Doesn't have the velocity of the AUG A3, and it doesn't have the lowest recoil overall, because the SAR-21, spoiler alert, before the video does come out, the SAR-21 is probably the best long-range. But the AR160 can handle itself in close range more so than the SAR-21, so that's kind of where it's placed. It's like the second place long-range champ, but it's not the worst, or anywhere near the worst, close-range weapon. It can still hold its own, again, because of that. That low rate of fire is just enough to make hip fire bearable. So, hope you guys did enjoy the gameplay. Try this gun out if you haven't already. The AR160, it is not too shabby, and because it's not a bullpup, if you like to stand still and shoot at those long ranges, you do have that better bullet spread than something like the SAR-21's bullpup. So check it out, guys. It is quite the beast at medium to long range. Hope you guys enjoyed all of it. Have a good one. Ta-ta.